All right, Ross, we were talking here about the lack of. How do I explain this? I'm not saying the lack of discipline from the schools. The schools have a procedure, but their hands are being tied. And then we have the few that are causing problems, and then with those problems, we have potential legalities that come into play. So with that opener, I know you got all these notes. Why don't you lead us in a direction?
Well, I think when you asked me, you basically just tell me kind of a general direction you want to go, or you just complain about stuff to me.
No, I don't. I don't complain.
And then we go, oh, that'll be a good topic. And so I think your initial question was, how did it get like this? And how did what get like what? And I think basically it's kind of what and at least an underlying theme of your show is, which is, how did a lot of society get to where we are today, where we don't care as much about the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, some constitutional rights. We don't care as much about the discipline of the kids, or maybe we do, and right there's too much going on to prevent that, or maybe kids are too soft, or basically just general fashions of the day. And I mean, we're always at least complaining about.
The majority of bulk answer is family breakdown. That's a majority.
So I was gonna say, the place that I start every time. I'm not gonna beat dead horses here because I talk about this all the time. But the place I definitely am gonna start at is the breakdown of the family nucleus. It all starts, and there's just a minutia, well, not a minutia, but a ton of problems, right? And specific problems that I think have led to kind of where we are today. And with some of the problems, I think some of where we are today is great. Like some people always talk about the good old days, well, the good old days where people were getting lynched and hung, and right, there was no equal pay for certain things. People were, just railroaded. There was no spotlight on the wrongs that were happening, so these wrongs kept happening. So in some sense, I don't want to make it seem like, today is such a horrible
what's
time.
weird? People bring that up all the time. Yeah, it happened. It's just like they want to remove these statues. It happened. It's history, but we advanced that. And sure, you have the remnants of a few people who go back that way, and those are the ones we take care of.
I think that's Ross's point. We've advanced past that. There's no good old days. It's not bad now.
No, I know. I'm agreeing with him.
Yeah.
But I'm saying you got people out there who want to keep going there, and those people are the ones that cause discontent in others. They just don't shut up.
Yeah, and so I mean, I agree. Those things exist too. I don't, you're always going to have people that just go against the grain just to go against the grain, I think. But, I think the problems we are having today, like the things that we know are issues, start with a breakdown of the family nucleus. I don't know that kids, I don't really know, I don't think I'm qualified to say kids across the board are softer. I know I definitely feel that way, but I don't think they're as equipped to deal with a lot of stressors that even I could have dealt with, and I don't even think I was nearly equipped to deal with them as my dad was, or people that had were 20 years older than I was.
I think it's the hardness of the times. That
it was, and so they've actually done some studies. I was looking at the the Journal of Hand Therapy, and they go back.
Hand therapy for what?
There is such a thing. Okay, so and it's actually been quoted in quite a few other
guys don't
journals.
want calluses on their hands, man.
And so there's this they go back all the way to the maybe not early 1900s, but like 1950s era. And they've been doing studies about the grip strength and pinch strength of students, about 18, 17, 16, 18 years old, right, during those times. And you could see...
I can see how that would go down, yeah.
From like 1975 to today, we've lost 20 to 30 points in grip strength.
But I'll bet you their thumb strength has gone off the charts.
And their hand-eye coordination. And their ability to retain information and their spatial recognition.
And that's great, but not on the battlefield when you got, you're not going to be doing this on the battlefield. You need a little bit of strength,
Well, what I'm getting at is the skills that are needed or that are practiced today are completely different.
Exactly.
You might not be able to take a kid from today and drop him in the hayfield and say, hey, we're hauling hay today. And he's going to be like, oh, my God. But then again, you can't take, a kid from that day and say, hey, we need to, work our way through this program on the computer. He's like, what's a computer? I mean, that's the point. It's completely different skills.
I would just like a more diversification of everybody.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, instead of somebody being so
Specializations for
one way,
insects.
You know, if you have a general field of it all, you know how to change your tire, but you also know how to input data, that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Well, I've been saying that's a problem with schools. Probably, I mean, I don't for as long as I can remember, and as long as I know of. I mean, schools. That's one thing they don't teach you. They don't teach you everything. They don't teach you how to go apply for a credit card, a bank account. They don't talk to you about insurance. They don't talk to you about. That's why law school is so great. I mean, I learned things in law school that I probably should have already learned or things that I was doing, but I really didn't have a full understanding of the consequences until I went to law school of the different aspects of life. That's why we say that the law is a profession of life, is a life profession. I don't mean profession for the length of my life.
No, I understand.
I mean it's a profession about life and life
every
events.
aspect, right?
Right, and so I wish there was something that we had in public schools that would cover.
We did home economics, but everybody laughed about it because that's a girls' class, right? Oh my God, I got to college. I wish I knew how to cook. I wish I knew how to sew that button back on my pants or my
Balance
shirt.
a checkbook.
Balance a checkbook. Not get myself into stupid debt.
Right, so I think, but we don't have anything, I don't think, targeted to the everyday minutia, common sense decisions that we need to make on an everyday basis. I think that would be great if that could be. But let's talk about the consequences of
How about the basic able to communicate with one another? The ability to communicate on these younger and younger levels. It's deteriorating.
there is a problem, right, with the communication on a personal level, right, and that has been caused by social media. That has been caused by technology, right? They're so used to the digital way of conveying their messages, conveying their emotions, conveying what they are affiliated with, that a lot of times there has been a breakdown in the way that they interact on a personal level. And that would go into a great conversation if we were talking about ego states today, to talk about how to handle a conflict, although I'm probably the worst person to be telling somebody to handle an ego. My way to handle a conflict is, where's the gasoline? I just let. But, so, I mean, there is this problem with being able to communicate, right, on a personal level with other people in person. You know what I'm saying? So we do have that issue. I mean, Trey, I'm sure. What do you don't have any comments on communication as far as what you've seen, even not only as a father but as an educator and so on?
Well, when you start relying on Twitter, Instagram, email, you're texting, a lot of that, you're posting something, you're not talking, so it's not a dialogue, it's a monologue. And if you're just monologuing, you're not interacting with someone.
A lot of people date that way, and that's why there's a lot of problems. They just don't know how to interact.
You're right. If there's no communication.
Hey Trey, here's a perfect example. When I do malfunction drills, which I'll be doing later today, you've seen me do them before.
Okay.
I'm doing it over the radio, so verbiage is key. You've got to have a good basic ability to speak and convey pictures with words. That's gone because they're using what? FF. What are the abbreviations? Some of those emoticons. What do you call them? Emoticons. So I mean, you can't do that. You got to be able to speak it, not just send a picture.
You have the other problem. You don't know how to speak it.
The emoticons are just a modern version of symbol, like the fish symbol for Christianity. Mm-hmm. You see that it has a whole lot of knowledge behind it, a whole lot of information and context behind it. You don't need to see that and then have the whole thing written out saying that what it is and whatnot. You just see that, and it's that one symbol.
A picture speaks 1,000 words.
Exactly. That's
Yeah,
exactly.
I know, but it's the same thing with mathematics. Go ahead, utilize a calculator, but you better know how to fall back on pencil and paper. If you've got a GPS system, that's awesome. But if it doesn't work, you better know how to use a map and compass.
Oh, absolutely.
So when it comes to your phone not working and you got to convey a message, you should be able to use dialogue instead of pictures.
And so this is a good segue into like some specific problems, right? When we're talking about schools, and so when we talk about pictures and conveying 1,000 words, and social media issues, right? There has been a large number of cases, an explosion, pretty much, where you have students using social media as a way to talk about and communicate about things that are happening in the school, right, or things that happen that affect the school, or even school personnel directly. For instance, there was been a few cases where kids have set up fake profiles, right, and put their principal or the superintendent or the athletic director or coach or teacher or whatever on there, and with the horns and the, doing all kinds of things, and then doing a fake profile and just saying really mean things about the person, but in the person's, right, as if it was coming from the person, him or herself. And so, you go on there, and I mean, I can't even say it on the radio, what the things that were being said by the students and educators. It really undermined that educator's or that person's authority in the school. And then when kids would go to school, they would not listen to what this person was saying. They would act out in class. They wouldn't really care what the curriculum was because, well, this guy's a what, and he's an idiot because we saw it on, and nobody else has listened to him, so I'm not going to listen to him either. And so the schools then had to make a determination. Well, do we suspend these kids and fight to destroy this Facebook profile, right, or risk a lawsuit for violation of their First Amendment rights?
Well, isn't that libel?
Is it?
I mean, it's red media, and it's untrue.
Defamation?
And it's defamation, right?
Possibly.
With the intent to harm either reputation or person.
You're gonna have some First Amendment issues there, especially because it's a government official. They're talking about, right, things of public concern. Okay, they're talking about things that affect, right, the school. Some of those cases, yes, they won a defamation case. Other cases, it was more of a gray area. It wasn't so much direct insult as it was hyperbole.
This has come out so much in the last 10 years, these legal problems. Big time. And it didn't happen before because if Johnny did something like that, Daddy and Mommy said, what the heck? And he'd get the backside slapped out of him.
Or it was, the 5 people that ever read your yearbook saw the mustache you drew on the principal. It's only 5 people. But you go on Facebook, you got 5,000, 50,000 that are reading it.
Is that for us?
Might be. Find out.
Let's take a call, see what we got. This is the Aaron's High Cap Adventure Radio program. You are on the air. Welcome. What's your name?
This is Tawana.
Thanks for calling. All right, go ahead.
Wana's pretty good though. So you had Tinker, right? And Tinker was a Supreme Court case, Tinker versus Des Moines Independent School District, and that was during the Vietnam War. It was black armbands, and kids were wearing the black armbands to, as a way to rebel and speak out against the Vietnam War. I think in this situation, this was a good decision. I think in and of itself to the specific facts of the case, but school lawyers will tell you, and school officials will tell you that Tinker was the demise, okay, of school authority, and it kind of changed the dynamic, and it gave students a constitutional rights. This is the constitutional rights do not stop at the schoolhouse door, okay, and the school would have to prove that there was a material and substantial, significant disruption or disturbance of their ability to operate the school, of school operation, before they could discipline the kids for basically a constitutional right.
Your illustration of a false profile and the guy losing all total credibility, that would seem to register with that.
There's a big difference between wearing a black armband in protest of something, which is a legitimate right, and then making a mock profile saying, I like to fornicate with sheep. I mean, there's a huge difference there.
Did that happen? You pulled that from pretty quick. So anyway, I want to know that case. But I mean, you're right. But sometimes it's obvious hyperbole. It's obvious political speech. There could be issues where there could be political speech involved. When you have a school board, when you have a superintendent or a problem with the principal, and so there is a really hard decision to make for school administrators. Do I go after this kid, or do I risk a lawsuit for First Amendment, some kind of constitutional right?
When does it become political speech, though? I mean, teachers aren't generally politically appointed, or
school board.
Well, right, but if it's about the
And,
superintendent,
and even if it's about the superintendent or the principal, the school board is the one that's making those hiring
Why
decisions.
can they take God out of school, but they can't stop somebody from being disruptive?
Again, I'm telling you when they can and when they can't. Like you can't. So Morse versus Frederick was bong hits for Jesus case. They were at a parade and the guy has the banner and he pulls his banner out. Wow! And all of a sudden it says bong hits for Jesus. Okay, and this was 1975. Okay, so he's trying to fight for the rights of marijuana smokers everywhere. 420 I think is what And so it's one of those things, and it wasn't in school. It wasn't in school, but there was some school sponsors at the parade, and so was it a school-sponsored event that could be classified as school? And so the Supreme Court said in that case, Morse versus Frederick, that at a school-sponsored event or a school function, right, that the teachers have a right to discipline, right, when it comes to drug use, illegal drug use messages about illegal drug use. And this was one of those cases, and so Morse lost that case. But these cases go to show you. And then there's Goss versus Lopez, right? And Goss versus Lopez is a huge brawl between the students. And right off the bat, they break everybody up and they suspend them all. Boom. So the kids end up, appealing it, right, suing the school, going after them because there was no due process hearing. Okay, well, this was a brawl. This was a brawl. Right, and it was obvious these kids had to go home and leave the school, and educators are like, "Are you kidding me? We didn't have a due process hearing, right, before we suspended them, right?" And the school lost, okay, and the Supreme Court said there had to be a due process hearing, and so, but you got to understand too that we talk about when the Supreme Court's making these decisions, they're not just looking at those individual cases. They're worried about, if we say there doesn't have to be a due process hearing, what's going to happen in the 100,000 other cases that are not so obvious?
Totally get it. Totally agree. It wouldn't come up though if we had a different mindset.
Exactly.
Because it's broken down. Because you didn't have this problem before. It's because there was respect, and it was limited. It's always there, but it was limited because you had more of a family unit that showed and taught respect and honor and dignity, and you just wouldn't do that in the first place.
And now it's very bureaucratic and technical, right? And so the teachers sometimes go overboard. So the Gun Safety Control Act, it wasn't the Gun Control Act, it was the Gun Education Safety Act, right? Came out, and there was a couple of other kind of sister acts that came out with that. For some reason, the exact name of the law is evading my memory right now. But there's a couple of sister laws that are going to tell you, or they're going to regulate the weapons. They're going to allow schools to keep weapons out of schools. But when they enacted those, right, everything became a weapon. And right when they enacted them, or right when they became big and there was a big push, everything became a weapon. If the kid had a nail in his
that's a weapon. They think a finger gun is a weapon.
And so school suspensions exploded, and then there was another back push saying, whoa, you guys are being unreasonable. And then we had to have school policy changes to try to make those policies, right, incorporate a reasonableness standard and a due process thing into the federal acts. And it's just been a minutia of headache. Not a minutia, a tornado of headache, right, for school administrators. And I mean, this has been a real problem, and it undermines a lot of their disciplinary authority, because even if it's not a winning case, right, but if it's such a technical issue, right, a student may challenge that authority, right, just because they know, right, if I sue them, I'm going to show them who's boss, even if I lose. Because they're going to have to spend so much time and money, it's going to bog the school down, right? They may not do anything to begin with, right? But even if they do, they're going to pay for it.
Would you agree or disagree that this is almost a non-reversible trend? I'll say almost, because you never know.
I definitely would say it's almost an unreversible trend.
It's just like,
so I don't know how to fix some of the issues.
It would take generations, at least two. If you started now, it'd take 2 or 3 generations before you got us back on track of respect and dignity for one another.
But I think we can start implementing a couple of things into the schools, like the common sense. Let's do an everyday right, class for everyday common sense decisions. I think we could do, right. I think there needs to be some kind of moral teaching. If you're not going to do religion, right? Why is it so bad to teach ethics?
It's not, or it's not. I don't believe, and that's. I work with younger kids. I work with 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, all the way up to 9-year-olds. Okay? And I've noticed that's one of the things that a lot of the teachers that I work with, they almost universally just common sense. What we accept as common sense. Don't hit people. Don't kick people. Treat them the way you want to be treated. You opened with the golden rule. Yeah. Don't push in line. Help your friends. Someone's got to clean up a center. Help them clean up. Then if you need help, they'll be there to help you. Play fair. Just these are the things that the teachers I work with, that's what we try to teach. Basic life skills for kids that age. That's the foundation you want to build on. The thing is, that's not always backed up at home. And we have them for 8 hours a day, and it's during the day. But at their most the most intense things they'll witness or learn from are going to be from people who are the biggest in their lives, their parents, their siblings, their grandparents, their cousins. So are the family, are they teaching them the same things? Or are they learning, you don't get your way, hit, scream, yell until you get your way? Make everybody else miserable if you're miserable.
Well, let me ask you this. So there's been a big push too in family law, and again, if you had several hours, I would go into the family nucleus. What is every single thing about that affects everyday life? But I want to point this one out. There's been a recent trend, to take some of the important. The kids are important, and in family law cases, if there's kids involved, that's usually the central focal point, right, of the litigation. But there's been a trend to take a little of that importance off the kids and put it back on the parents. So, because forever there was this thing, it's the best interest of the child only. Only the best interest of the child matters. It's only what matters to the best interest of the child. And then in a couple cases they said, whoa, what about the interest of the parents? Do the interests of the parents ever trump the interests of the children? And I was thinking, that's probably how it should be. If the parents want to go live here and grow up on a farm and this and that and raise their kids on the farm, that is the parents' prerogative. Why do we never consider what the parents' interests are? Now, there haven't been any just big seminal cases yet that have come out, but there's been this recent trend to kind of go with what is important to the parents, right? Not just about what's important to the kids. Do you think so I'm asking you, do you think we are putting too much emphasis maybe on only the best interest of the children,
Absolutely.
and not enough on what's important to other people?
Absolutely.
Honestly, how do you determine what's the best interest of the child?
Oh, well, yeah.
I think-
I'll disagree with that.
I don't know how I can work this in here, but when my kids were being raised, I told them I own you until you're 18. What I say goes. What my best interests are will be your best interest, and that's it. I'll listen to what you have to say. If I feel there's merit to it, I'll adjust accordingly. But I rule. I decide. I'm trying to. The cement is poured, and I'm trying to mold it before it hardens. Because once they're 18, they're gone. The parent needs to have the ability to discipline their children and not worry about getting child protective services on them.
Exactly.
I read an article. Remember that one article? The grandma spanked the kid in the Walmart bathroom, and somebody calls the cops on. It's ridiculous, man.
But the parent also needs to have the wisdom on how to discipline the child. I mean, spanking's one thing, but a closed fist?
That's between you and me. That's common sense. Okay, the person who
problem
hits
is-
their child with a fist, and if it's seen or if there's child abuse, by all means, man. I don't say don't do anything.
Unfortunately, common sense is really uncommon.
That's true.
And so we not only CPS, right? We've got the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, the IDEA, okay, and there's been a bunch of problems with school administrators about how they discipline children, right, under the IDEA. I can name a few case studies and examples. There was a good article If anybody's curious about any of this, everything that I've actually talked about is covered at least a little bit, right, in an article I think that's called "Who Killed School Discipline," in that article they talk about the case studies, and they talk about there being the same set of circumstances. Child brings a weapon to school, is the same kind of weapon, right? One child has a stuttering defect, they stutter. The other child is normal, has no other defect, and this child is suspended for a year, whereas the child under the IDEA got a 45-day suspension. Same set of facts, same set of circumstances, except the only difference was one kid had the stuttering, right, defect and qualified and fell into the IDEA. And so you've got to ask, how do these kinds of cases happen? They do, and then I spoke about some of the cases that I had where I tried to change the facts. Let me see if I can change the facts. Has a farm equipment tool in the back of his truck, and they doing a walkthrough in the parking lot and happen to see a farm tool and call the farm tool a weapon. Okay, and this kid who never been in trouble before
that kind of happened with a machete, just a basic machete that you would have that would be considered a weapon.
Yes. Okay, and so the child is up for valedictorian, also for an honors spot, scholarships, everything else. Is it okay to suspend this kid? And those are the hard. There's hard questions to find answers to.
I put blame a lot on parents and upbringing, and I put a lot of blame on what you just said there. No common sense for the adult. You got a student who's going to be a valedictorian, great record, and because they look at this thing as zero tolerance, and you can't say it's quite obvious what the child has no problems. He comes from a family that owns a ranch or a farm. He's driving a truck. He's working, no problems, and they're gonna do a zero tolerance policy.
A lot of it is, like you said, is context. I mean, that student that shows up in Cameron, okay, or a rural area, there's a good chance he is working on a farm. But that child shows up in Chicago, he's got a machete in the back of his truck.
Okay, different story.
That's a different story.
What about when they draw a gun on a piece of paper? What if they use their finger? I've read articles where a kid points his finger at somebody and they tell him zero tolerance, it's a gun, you're out. I've read it, man. I've read it. And I think that was Chicago.
Well, in Chicago, very well could have been a gun hidden as a finger.
So, I mean, I think you guys are making the case for why this is so difficult, though.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, I think we start to see that, right, educators, instead of just reacting and maybe disciplining a child like they should, right, they have to think about, the IDEA, the Texas Penal Code, the Weapons Acts, the school policies, right, the First Amendment constitutional rights, and by the time they make their checklist, the kid's already overdoing something else.
Before we can put the second Lego block down, the first one has to be set. We all said something here that explains or identifies problems, but what could that first Lego block be that we all could do that, if goes successfully, could potentially house the second block on top of it, and we go from there? Did you get my meaning there? We have to have one little thing can we start right now that if we all did it, it might be able to open the door to be able to put the second block on top of it. Because right now there's no first block. We need a block to put down, a base block. Any ideas what you could do? I know what it would be for me, but how do you get that? And that would be better upbringing in a home. But that's part of the problem, is the home is in shambles. So what do we do?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, the family nucleus. But there's that issue. I think maybe stop putting so much emphasis, right, outside of the educational aspect. Stop putting so much emphasis, right, on the best interest of the child, right, and start focusing on what's good for the parents, what's good for society, right. And I'm not saying take away. I'm not saying get rid of best interest of child standard. I'm just saying don't put everything of emphasis.
How about this as an example?
We should at least consider a little more about what the other parties have going on. Is my point.
I'm going to say something, but then it's going to probably default to a legal potential issue. Couldn't we all just say somebody says something disrespectful to somebody else, and as we standing there leading the example say, hey, that's not nice. You shouldn't say that. That's disrespectful. you may not have heard yourself, but this is what you're saying. That's vulgar. Don't say that. And if everybody would, instead of shake their head saying, oh, that kid has no upbringing, why can't we all be examples in leadership when it comes to that aspect and maybe say, hey, don't do that, or I won't accept that. Sorry, I'm not going to accept that. And if enough people did that, and let's say we have a disrespectful child trying to get a job and doesn't dress properly, doesn't comb his hair, doesn't look respectable. I don't care what your style is, as long as you're in a clean, respectable manner. And you come up to try to get a job from him and say, no, I'm sorry, you just don't meet the standards. But I know that's a major legal issue, right?
The verbiage we use at the school a lot is, that's not okay. You said such and such to this person. That's not okay. It's not okay to talk to people like that.
And if enough people said that at the same time, we make a dent. Yes? No? What do you think?
Yeah, if enough people would say it, and I think that's the problem too, is that some people are scared to tell somebody it's not okay to do something, because for fear that they're going to violate some rule or some constitutional right or peer pressure.
Fear of conflict.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think, knowing the rules, one, will help you, right, be able to say no, that's not okay, and give you confidence. Two, really, I think at some point you just got to throw that stuff out the window, and you got to do what's right and wrong. You got to tell the difference between what's right and wrong.
I do want to point
If it's right,
something out.
it's right. If it's wrong, it's wrong.
In a school of 500 plus students, okay, there may be 3 discipline problems. I mean, and that's the discipline problem is the one. They say the squeaky wheel gets the grease, but that's what most of the kids, as a rule, they're going to get along. They want to get along.
It's the same thing with gun problems. Yes, when you have a mass shooting, it's a terrible thing. But how many of those really happen? One, it's a terrible thing. Not a problem. I get it. Totally get where you're coming from. But a very small percentage of people who go nuts, it's then blown out of proportion by the media, and then you got copycats. If the media would downplay it, that's another thing that we could do to help it out. Downplaying things, address it in a private manner, and accomplish the mission that way. But when you broadcast it, somebody's going, I didn't think about that.
And you glorify it. Yeah.
That's right. And I said that in my other opinion piece. If you don't glorify it and you don't give them a platform to promote it, you're going to see school shootings go away. You want to wrap this up? I gotta.
Yeah. So from a legal standpoint, you gotta. If you're an educator, you've got a lot of risks involved, and if you go too far with discipline, you could have a criminal case. Although you do get the right to use corporal punishment. There was actually a case about a football coach who was trying to motivate a kid. He was lazy or whatever it was, and kind of hit him on the head, helmet, when he had a helmet on real hard, and grabbed him by the face mask. And what ended up happening in that case, the parents sued the football coach, and the football coach, though, ended up, the jury found for the football coach. Okay, there was a problem with the jury charges, though, and so they had to go back and do it again, and we don't know what happened. We don't know what the result was after they did it again.
I had a football coach hit me in the head with a helmet. Goes, what are you doing? I go, yes, coach. And I just moved on.
Exactly. I thought, man, that's crazy, and my coach hit me.
And that's why I'm the way I am today.
Maybe that's what's wrong with me.
All right, tell everybody how to get a hold of you.
So you do have a defense, but you do have to be careful.
Janae's going to run a few minutes late. I'm going to take care of
So, and I know we didn't get to get into all of it, but if you have any more questions, feel free to give us a call. The number is 254-605-4140. That's 254-605-4140. If it is a personal injury kind of question, you can call the other speaker that comes on the show, Rick Dodd, at Capolino Dodd and Krebs Law Firm. But if you come see me, I'm at 105 East Main Street in Cameron. Big milk cow on the side, new building going up. Hopefully it's done pretty quick. And
I still think you need to put a roll of hay out there just for effect.
And we get questions all the time. We love questions. Just if you do email me at benton@watson.legal. Again, my email is benton@watson.legal. When you use that email, make sure you leave your phone number. And we'll be happy to get back to you.
Sounds great. Ross, it's always a pleasure to have you on. And hopefully we can get both of you guys on some point. I think Rick's coming on next week. But we'll see. All right.